cameras. Oh, can't do that. And then recording audio. And we're streaming, and we're going to go now in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome. Hello, everybody, and this is today's audio production town hall meeting. I am Edward Tinley. I'm the course director of Vocal Techniques.
My name is Kendall Benz. I'm the course director for Advanced Audio Editing Techniques.
So those of you in audio production, those of you early in the program, you might not know us yet. We're at the very end of the program, month 27 and month 28, so we see you right before you graduate. But here we are today with the Audio Production Town Hall, where we talk about all things audio. And our feature for today is a start in a series. This is the first episode in a series that we're going to feature covering the software that comes in your project Launchbox. And the first thing we're going to focus on today, it's a big one. I don't really know if we're going to get through all the plugins. We're going to look at the Steven Slate bundle of audio plugins that you get. This is a fantastic audio bundle. I'm not just saying that because I work at the school here. This is something that I've used the Slate stuff for a number of years now, and have gotten used to using some of these plugins. And I have to say, it's high quality audio products. They are much better sounding than most of the stock plugins that you receive with whatever DAW you're using. I'm sure we have our favorite plugins that we use with Logic and Pro Tools and whatnot, but I'm telling you, a lot of these are kind of a step up because many of them emulate famous pieces of audio gear, and we'll jump in and look at these. So first things first, if you do not have your Slate stuff installed, disregard that link up there, but what I want to draw your attention to is the software project Launchbox code. Search your emails for those words. That will bring up the email that was sent to you for your Launchbox from Full Sail that contains all your codes for Slate, Pro Tools, whatever, Auto-Tune, whatever you received as part of your Launchbox. That's the email you want to find that will contain the codes. Once you find the codes, go ahead and register with your Full Sail email at Slate Digital, and you can download the Slate Digital Connect. So you probably know by now most software plugin companies, they provide their own software that manages the installation of the various plugins, and Slate is no different. They use Slate Digital Connect. So you'll be able to see everything that's listed here that's part of your bundle. It might be different from what I have, so don't freak out if yours isn't a complete one-for-one. But here you can imagine all the updates. You can see I've been a bad boy. I need to update about 27 plugins, but we're not going to do that right now or get into that. I just wanted to hip you to the Slate Digital. So that's how you find your information. This is the software that you use to install that. If you're having problems with any of that, just please talk to your course director or call into our good friends at Full Sail Tech Support. They'd be glad to get you situated with this. So we just find this is really important because I don't know if you're different than me, Kendall, but when I get to the end of the program here and I get a lot of students in my class, Vocal Techniques, I get students that have no idea that they even own these plugins or have them. So it's becoming our mission to try to hip you all to what you have here. And do you have anything to add to that? Or?
I've come into the same situation where students don't even know they have them, and I'm like, hey, you got this, right? And end up walking them through it and getting it installed. And one thing I have to say about the Slate Digital Connect is, as far as those software vendors having their own installation, I find Slate Digital Connect one of the most straightforward, easiest ways to install all their plugins. It's just so easy to update it and get them up and running real quickly. So I do like this software a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of this. You can go update, and I believe if I sign in, I could just hit update all.
Yep.
Or you can just go through these individually and update whichever set that you want. So, all right, so first things first. So Pro Tools will be our DAW of choice today. So we're working at the inserts here, and I've preloaded a lot of their different plugins. Again, I don't think we'll get through all of them, but we'll try to take a dive into a few of them. If you look in your inserts, and we go ahead and just go to Slate Digital, it doesn't look like a lot of software. It doesn't look like all those different plugins that we saw in the Slate Connect. And that's because most of this you're either going to use in one of their virtual mix racks. You can put multiple instances of these plugins into one insert. You don't have to put all the individual plugins onto different inserts. So the first one we'll look at excuse me, is the virtual mix rack here. But there are a lot of others available that we'll see as well. So the VMR, virtual mix rack, if we insert it, it boots up with a preset with a lot of loaded plugins already. So we might now want to start with that out of the gate here. So what you can do, if we come up top and the resolution, it's this one. It's getting cut off just a little bit, but there's clear rack. It's a little trash can at the top. But we'll go ahead and hit that. And oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, we had a little video technical difficulty at the beginning here. That's why we started late. So the resolution on my computer here will show up better on the video archive. So if you want to see a better look after we record this, you can check out the archive and see my computer screen a little better. Okay, with that being said, so we have an empty rack now. So we have our rack. We have a lot of presets, which I'm not really going to play with many of the presets right now. We're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. You'll see in the top left, it's broken down into 6 different categories. We have dynamics for our compressors and limiters. We have EQs for the equalizers. We have harmonics, so things like preamps, preamplifiers, and these inserts that are basically just going to add harmonics or change the tone of your insert. Mastering, and then we have mics, which the mic is a separate thing. Slate offers a virtual mic system that's really cool. Maybe we'll cover that in one of the feature episodes. That could be a whole, probably a whole episode in itself. I do have the virtual mic for my class. We go over it in Vocal Techniques. And it's pretty neat because it's one of the emulators out there. It sounds pretty good. It retails for about $900, but they put it on sale all the time for about $500. If you bought it during Christmas, you could have got the mic and the U87 pack. It comes with, excuse me, it comes with a selection of classic mics, but you can put on some of these add-on. Blackbird Studios makes their own version. They did a classic tubes upgrade that I purchased for the class, so we checked that out. They have dynamic mics, so we will go over the microphones in a future episode. And lastly, they do have mic pre's with the virtual mic system. Also comes a preamp. And they emulate a lot of the different famous preamps out there. And I just want to say I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm just trying to battle not coughing too much today. All right, so without further ado, let's load in a compressor. And I'm going to start out with this one. I'm going to start out with the FG116. So this might look familiar to some of you. This is an emulation of the famous Yuri 1176 compressor.
Blue Stripe edition.
The Blue Stripe, actually. There's different renditions or versions, revisions they call them, of the different compressors. So we have 3 different within Slate. We have what's known as the revision LN, I think. This is also known as the blackface version because the front of it is black.
LN for low noise, right?
Yes, and the blackface, I think that one's kind of famous for drums and guitars and adding grits. It's a little more rock and roll than the other ones. And they have a modern one, which I believe is a little cleaner. It's a 2020 version of this compressor, because this compressor originally came out back in the 60s. I mean, there's the 176, which is the tube version, which I think came out in the 50s, which are ultra rare. And then he came out with the many different versions of 1176. They're not tube, they're FET, they're transistor based, they're lightning fast, and they're just, it's a standard compressor that you're going to find in just about any major studio. And we'll go over the most famous one, the most expensive one, the one that's known as the Blue Stripe, really famous for vocals. And one thing that we're going to find out with these compressors is they don't just compress, they're adding tone, right? It's about emulation, it's about the harmonics that they're adding to the signal. So we'll first look at this one, but also we will look at a couple outside ones just to compare it to. I have a Purple Audio by Plug-in Alliance, which is a famous company. This is a kind of a more expensive emulation than some of the other ones that I own. And then we also have the one that comes with Pro Tools, BF76, Best Friend 76. Yep. Actually, that's Bomb Factory. It was a separate company way back in the 90s that Digidesign bought, that became Avid. So the BF, that's what that stands for, Bomb Factory. It used to be a company, but there's probably the first 1176 that I remember as far as software goes. And this thing came out in the 90s. And you probably have heard this thing on a billion records, because there's been so many times I've worked on a production where we've had this on the vocal, just compressing a little bit as we're building the song, and then we get to the end, put the last instrument down on the track, we kind of have it mixed, and we're like, oh, that kind of sounds like it, and we'll throw other compressors on, and we liked the vibe this one had going. Sometimes it just works, so we'll check it out compared to this one, because this is one that's in Pro Tools and kind of a stock one that isn't the sexiest or most expensive one out there, but a BF76, 1176 nonetheless. So, all right, first thing to understand about 1176 is they're input-driven compressors. So the harder you drive the input, the more compression you're actually going to get. Because what happens when we drive the input, it increases the speed of what they call the knee, K-N-E-E-E. Two E's, not three. The knee, you probably have wondered what knee means maybe when you've read about compression. And knee is the time it takes to get to the ratio. So if we look at the ratios here, we're going to start with standard 4:1. But when this unit starts compressing, it doesn't go to 4:1 right away. It takes a little time. There's a lag. The harder we drive the input, the faster it'll get to that 4:1. And that can be really important when you get to 8:1, 12:1. Remember, you can shift click these and do the, can you not do that on this one? I guess you can't.
You can do
Option? Okay. Well, there's a classic feature on the 1176 where you push all the buttons in. They call it all in, and it limits it like an infinity to 1. It kind of creates a crazy distortion, and that can definitely be affected by the knee, how fast it gets to that limiting. So the harder we drive it, the more compression. So let's check out. Let's just see where it is out of the box. Let's go. We're in the default setting. Now look where the default setting's at, the attack and the release. And you can back me up on this, Kendall. But 99 times out of 100, when I use a 1176, I start out in this position. All the way on the left, a value of 1 is the slowest attack. All the way on the right, a value of 7 is the fastest release. And if compression is still kind of voodoo to you, the attack and release of the compressor, these are the most important components. These are ones that are going to affect the audio the most. By having the slowest attack possible, I'm letting the most signal go by before it starts compressing. So it gives it a natural attack to your audio signal, whether it's a snare, a vocal. We let a little bit of that transient go by, then it clamps down and starts compressing. If we do a quick release, as soon as it goes below the threshold, it lets go. So this is our most uncompressed setting that we can get out of the plugin, and that's usually the way I start with these. Less is more. Start with less, and if we need to crank it on, we'll start fiddling with it. So we'll start out with slow attack, fast release. Another beautiful thing about almost all these Slate plugins is they have a mix knob. So right now we're hearing 100% compressed signal. That's how a lot of plugins usually work, but this is kind of cool. We can maybe compress a little harder than we normally do on this one, and then we can back off some of the mix and induce some of the dry signal. It's called parallel. Usually we have to put another aux track and mix the compressed signal with the uncompressed, but now these days, now that we're past the 90s or into the 2020s, every company's usually making a mix knob on their compressor. And if they're not, I feel sorry for them. So Slate has that going for them.
Also, let me add in about
Sure.
the attack and the release real quick. For anybody that's ever used a compressor before, usually your fast to slow goes from left to right. On 1176s, it goes from right to left, and that confuses a lot of new people who are using 1176 style compressors for the first time, especially if they use a standard compressor before.
It's a great point, because I'm pretty certain on the CLA, the Waves 1176, they had it backwards. And it used to drive me crazy. And I don't know if they ever fixed that or not. I'm like, they made it logical like how you think it would be, but that's not how they work. So any engineer that has been using these for a long time, this is the way that you're used to it. 1 is the slowest attack, 7 is the fastest release. I don't know, it's hard. Just remember, take that attack all the way to the left, all the way to the right in the release. Now the BF76, the Bomb Factory, that one starts out different. That one starts with kind of a medium attack and a medium fast release, and I don't like that. And that's how I bust students a lot of times. They send me a mix, I'm like, you didn't even play with the attack and the release. How are you going to learn this here? So
I typically find they never realize that it goes counterclockwise rather than clockwise.
Gotcha.
So I think that's usually the issue with 1176.
So even on this one's different. You know, let's go ahead and go all the way slow, all the way fast, and start there. Now, some True Blue emulations, I don't know if they have that, but on a real hardware unit, if you turn that release all the way to the right, it actually disengages the entire compressor on a hardware. But I don't think any of the emulations do that, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's like the off switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, again, you notice, you know, how about the blue or the purple one? How does that start? I don't remember.
That's a good question.
So here's another 1176 from our good friends at Plug-in Alliance, a wonderful company. They start theirs. It's kind of how the BF76 is. Oh, and look at, they have an off. Oh my gosh, be careful, people.
Oh, they do have
So you can look. How do you turn that off? I haven't messed with that one yet, but yeah, I guess you can switch that to off. So this one is so true to the emulation, it actually has the off button on it. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, we're not here to talk about this one today. We're here to talk about the Slate. So let's get the Slate one back up. I just wanted to show you, there's a lot of them out there. UA, Universal Audio, that's URI. That's what they used to be called. They're out from Chicago, Illinois, Universal Audio. Started there, they moved to LA. They created the hardware company. Now they're the ones that make the true 1176. If you want to buy a Universal Audio 1176, what's that going to set you back, Kendall?
about $2,000.
At least $2,000
At least
for a
$2,000.
remake. I think it's around $2,400. In LA2A is how
One
much?
channel. The LA2A is about 35 right now.
Actually, Kendall, I think it's about 45.
You might be right.
The point is, they're really expensive. And what about if you find a real vintage one?
Oh gosh, maybe 10 grand.
Worth more than my car.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. I drive a Hyundai, so yeah, they're ridiculous, the hardware units. And if you're lucky enough to buy one back in the day, I mean, you've done well with your investment. We actually have a few real ones here at Full Sail. Studio B has a couple of the real Uris in it. I love using them. But point being now, in this day and age, you young whippersnappers, we have all this in our box, in the computer, and this stuff sounds pretty good. Does it sound better in the hardware? I'll let you go watch the YouTubers out there to do all these shootouts and let you decide. But I think in this day and age, you can pretty much get away with mixing in the box. I mean, it'd be nice to have this hardware on the front end for when you track, but you know, at least for mixing, I think this does the trick. So, okay, so enough about this. Let's get to the Slate. So here's our BF76. I just have a simple vocal that I have it on. This is just the way it sounds right out of the box. Slow attack, fast release.
You said you needed my love, but you lied. Yeah, you lied.
So this is what, with this setting right here, I call this kissing the peaks. We're just tapping it. We're just giving a little smooch. We're not trying to smash it down or you know, do anything too crazy to this audio. If you don't understand what this meter's doing, this is a gain reduction meter. So it looks like a VU meter, but as it moves to the left, you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. That's the amount of dB in gain reduction. So right now,
you said you needed my love, but you lied. Yeah, you lied.
right, it's just kind of catching a couple of those peaks. We're not compressing more than a dB. We're starting out with less. And if we need to compress more, we'll go ahead. So why don't we go ahead and compress more? And two different ways to go about this. One way, we could just drive the input, and we can start adding more compression that way at the input. Or you could go ahead and play with your attack. To me, what I tell students a lot of times, and you can disagree, if you really want to hear the sound of the compressor, start playing with the attack knob. The faster you make that attack, the more you're going to hear this compressor. So right now we're on the slowest attack.
You said you needed my love.
Right, we had about a dB on that set. If I go ahead and go up to about 50% here, right here in the middle, so kind of a medium fast attack.
You said you needed my
Whoa, we went up to 2 dB there, didn't we? What if we go away and go on the fastest attack, the James Rowan setting?
You said you needed
Oh, we almost hit 3 dB. So notice that right there. We're getting more compression just as we increase or make the attack time shorter, actually. Now in milliseconds, do I know how much this attack setting is? I really don't know. I would be guessing 3 to 5 milliseconds, maybe a little more on the slowest attack, 3, 5 milliseconds, 6 milliseconds, something like that. And as we get down up here into like 7, this is a famous compressor because its attack time is lightning fast. We might be getting down into the microseconds, I think, when we go to the fastest attack. So Careful with fast attacks though. If we go with a fast attack and we really drive the input, we could start clipping or actually distorting the signal.
You said you needed my love.
Right? Just bringing that input up a little and going with a fast attack. I'm already kind of going into the 10 dB range, which is some pretty, we'd say that's moderately heavy compression. Now, if you're Chris Lord-Alge or one of those guys with the initials in their name,
You said you needed my
it's
love.
not uncommon to be known to do what is known as pinning the compressor, where we're slamming that needle all the way as far as it goes, and it's compressing 20 dB. Can be done sometimes in pop music or some sort of rock music,
rock
or
music especially.
or again, if you're going to go that heavy, I'd probably get into the mix knob here. But anyway, let's go back to default. And now the thing I want to talk about here with a fast or slow attack and a fast release is, the thing you have to understand as we get into these plugins, especially with compressors here, you probably have heard this term. It's called gain staging. And people, I've had this many times, my students at the very end of the program, gain staging. I don't get it, I have problems with it. And the simplest way I explain gain staging and what it means is that every different stage of the Pro Tools mixer, we can add gain or we can take gain away. And we have a lot of different places we can do that. When we get the signal into the computer, we can use clip gain to bring it up and down. You can even actually use Elastic Audio to add some gain, which both of those are for the Pro Tools mixer. Once we get into the Pro Tools mixer, look at this, you have 12 different inserts. Each one of those can have multiple gain stages. And what a gain stage is anywhere you can add or take gain away. So on the compressor here, if we add gain, if I'm going to crank in this input and go for it, I want to drive this compressor.
You said you needed my love.
There's one problem that's happened now.
But you
What's the problem here, Kendall?
We have no output. And we can't. It's too loud.
It's
so we
too
can't turn it
loud.
down.
We don't really have an output control. Well, we do have output control, but if we've added gain, we're going to have to bring it down somewhere. Because if you keep continually adding gain at every stage, before you know it, you're going to be clipping out. And you're going to be pulling your faders down to like -30. And you're going to wonder why your mix is just in shambles because you're adding too much gain. And that's usually, when I meet newer mixers, this is usually a very, kind of a rookie mistake. We keep adding gain, and never thinking about, ooh, we need to bring it down. So my famous analogy here from Sir Isaac Newton, gain is like gravity. Whatever comes up with gain, it must come down. So let's bring gain down. If we added input, let's bring down some output, my friends.
You said you needed my
And I just do the old ear test. Some people will look at the meters and see if it's adding gain, and we can do that. But for me, it's just usually bypassing the plugin. If I bypass it, is it the same volume?
You said you needed my love.
That's without the compression. Here's with it now.
You said you needed my love.
Close enough for rock and roll, would you say? So
Very close.
if it's a little bit of a jump when you bypass it, not a big deal. But again, if you didn't bring this output down and we left it where it was, here it is with the compression.
You said you needed my love.
Here's without it.
You said you needed
Big difference. And
my
if we look at the meter too down here, you can really see that thing jumping up with all that added gain. So be careful with this. And the reason I wanted to cover this, why I felt it's important, even though we're just supposed to be talking about Slate, with this Slate Virtual Rack, if we put 3, 4, 5 plugins on it or instances in this rack, you have all these chances to add this gain. And it can get real messy. And I see students get confused with it. So if we bring the gain up, let's please bring the gain back down at the output. You agree there, Kendall? Is that
I
cool?
totally agree. And to add to that a little bit, sometimes when you put a plug-in on that adds some kind of saturation to it, you can end up taking the gain down a little bit more than just balancing it out to where it is. And that's gain you can give something else in the mix.
Later on in the mix, we might need that if we want to bring that fader up to do some automation later. Or after this, we put an EQ, okay? Let's do that. Let's grab an EQ. So you go to the EQ tab. Here's all the different EQs. And again, we don't have time to cover all these EQs. I can kind of briefly go through some. Now, these Air ones, I think they just add like top end or low end. They're kind of broadband EQs that are very simple. This one, I believe the CS, this is emulating the, what are these called?
Is it the Motown? Is it
No, these look like the, I can't remember the name right now. What are those, they have them over in the Studio B, it's gonna, oh, this is bad.
It's not the MOG. No, it's not.
It's gonna come to me.
the CL.
Jason's gonna kill me. Oh, geez, what are these called? They'll come back to me. Don't worry. We'll get you that. Oh, Summit EQ.
Summit Audio.
Boom,
Gotcha.
I got it. So Summit, which is a pretty famous company that makes really nice tube EQs and tube compressors. There's your Summit EQ. I'm not going to cover that one though.
Kind
Here's-
of like that Motor City EQ as well, the one they use for the Motown records.
There you go.
Looks
It could be the Motown one. Honestly, I got to look it up, and we should probably read the manual, shouldn't we, folks? But here, I can guarantee you this one's API.
Yeah, that's definitely API.
So API, everybody makes an API EQ, Plug-in Alliance, Soft Tube, Waves, you name it. This one is our Neve, so everybody makes a Neve. And how about doing the one everybody loves? Let's go look at the SSL.
SSL.
What do you think of their SSL?
I actually like the SSL.
I think it's pretty cool too.
I think it's pretty cool. It has the SSL flavor to it. It's a sleek EQ.
What I kind of like about it, having used SSLs for years, like the actual board, I always found that SSLs were very strong EQs. Like you barely move the knob, and whoa, you really hear the EQ. Like typically with an SSL, you move it to like 1 o'clock there.
That's a big difference.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
You turn it on and off, you're going to hear it. What I like about this Slate one, it seems like you can dig into it a little farther. It's a little smoother. You can crank on a little more frequency, and it works. It sounds like an SSL, but it also has kind of this nice musical side to it too. It's not as strong as most other SSLs as I've heard out there. So again, if we do, what we were just talking about, getting back to the gain staging, I add a bunch of gain here. Okay, I'm adding gain. Oh, we have a question. Okay, one sec.
You said you needed my love.
We're adding more gain. If I bypass this plugin, EQ, any band that you add gain with, you're adding more gain to your signal. You start adding across all the bands, we're adding a dB, 2 dB, 3 dB to the signal, and we're going to have to be careful. Okay, we have a question out there from the stream.
No question. We just wrapped it up in 5.
Okay.
Oh, we got to wrap it up. Oh my gosh. All right, so that's the compression, that's the EQs. Excuse me, sorry. What else do we have in here? We have,
Everything.
we did the mics, the pre's are part of the pre system. So maybe in a future episode, we'll look at some of the mic pre's and the microphone itself. Mastering, these are just kind of some overall, hey, at the end of my chain, do I want to brighten it, shimmer? Do I want to thicken it with some bass? You can add a little bit over that, like just big broad brush strokes of EQ. And then really this is a cool one. I've been talking about gain staging, and this is why you need it. Think of this as like a lunchbox, like a hardware unit where you add all these different units. And at the end, it's nice to have a trimmer. If you're kind of just adding too much gain at the end here, we can trim it all down. So that's kind of that's the VMR. Now, the other ones that I really like are these, the virtual bus compressors, the VBCs. If we look at Slate, VBC, the gray, the red, the MU, we have all these as well. I really like this one called the gray. I don't know why, but I'm not even sure which one this emulates, but it's a very clean 2-bus compressor, meaning we put this across the whole mix. So I have this on the master right now, which I don't always do that, but I'm doing it for convenience. Again, I would go slow attack, fast release. I'll go very low ratio if I'm doing it across my whole mix. And what I like about this one, it has a built-in what's called a side chain, meaning we can remove low end that's going to the compression circuit, and meaning we won't compress the low end as much. So I can get rid of some of this, up to 50, 60 hertz, and it won't be taking all the low end off my bass or my kick drum or my 808. And then we just, again, lightly tap the entire mix
I'll be alright.
with this compressor. And there's quite a few other ones here. There's one that does the, I believe this one is a Fairchild. So this one, and this is
that's
true.
definitely a Fairchild.
Yeah, let me turn off the mix rack. So this one, we can even demonstrate it really quick. This one actually brightens your whole mix. Just not even doing anything, not even changing the knobs.
I'll be alright.
If I turn it off,
Be alright.
it darkens.
You know it feels like I'm in trouble with you.
Yeah.
I turn it on, you hear a little air in the vocal, so it's emulating the saturation of Fairchild. I think it has like 50 tubes in it. I forget what it is, like 11 or something.
lot of tubes.
A lot of tubes, and all that harmonic tones that are being generated is being used in the emulation. Okay, so besides the dynamic stuff like the EQs, the compressors, the stereo compressors, which I covered, that's in the package, Here's one that Kendall wants to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, it's called Murder Melodies, and it's a really cool multi-effects kind of plug-in that kind of does a lot of modern, crazy effects. It's like, you know, just go through any kind of preset and put it on a vocal right quick.
I'll be alright.
Okay, I have to be honest, I have not used this one.
Yeah, it's a really cool one.
I'll be alright. Be alright.
So that's called Graham Bell, so it's supposed to be like a telephone. That's pretty smart.
It's got a lot of different kind of effects built into it that kind of turns into these nice look.
I'll be alright. Be alright.
That's cool. So we got different filters, we got jitter,
Got some pitch stuff.
pitch things. Here, let me just try to find a.
Yeah.
Oh, these are all
It's just
lo-fi
such a
ones.
thing.
I see. Let's find like a pitch shift,
Yeah.
high harmonizer.
I'll be alright. Be alright.
There you go. So we're getting into some cool sort of pitch effects, harmonic effects, stereo spread. You know, something if we want to just kind of add something funky or something different to the vocal sound or
Got
drums.
some delays, some reverbs, got all kinds
Oh,
of
we got
cool
all kinds of stuff in
Yeah.
here. Okay, I have to be honest. I mean, there's so much in here. I have to be honest. I haven't even gotten to this stuff yet.
Try some of that warp stuff right there. Some
Old
of that stuff is
digital.
fun.
I'll be alright.
Cool.
Be alright.
Sounds
Old
like
digital.
Old
like a-
weird like Dimension D or something. This is fun. Oh my gosh. I ain't seen this one. Washed Out. Okay, Far Away. All right, so we can get into the trippy sound effects. And then
Yeah.
one other one that I noticed before we did this that I had before we wrap it up. What was it? Slate Digital. Verb Suite. I think this one did. There is a reverb suite. And this did load for me. So it does have a pretty sweet sounding verb in there as well.
Yeah, this is a convolution reverb, so it's
So, in closing here with the Slate stuff, and even without even looking at the mic or the pre, which we'll do in another episode, well, we have compressors, we have EQs, we have verb, we have crazy pitch effects, we have mastering. There's a limiter as well that I
Yeah.
think I forgot to mention. But
oh, and there's also a tape machine.
aha! Last but not least, let's do a little tape. You have your virtual tape machine as well. There you go. Oh, you've just remixed this whole song. So if you want to add some good tape harmonics, and it auto gain stages.
Auto gain stages.
Hey, it comes full circle. So if I bring the input up, notice it's automatically bringing the output down so we don't blow up our whole mix. So, excuse me one last time. But anyway, that's the Slate Suite. I hope you enjoyed the little overview of this. Again, I'm Edward Tinley. I'm the course director of Vocal Techniques.
My name is Kendall Benz. I'm the course director for Advanced Audio Editing Techniques.
And if you haven't gotten that far in the program, we look forward to seeing you. And so we hope you hope you enjoyed our audio production town hall today.
Download your plugins.
Get your plugins installed.